Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. I've been going through a series of video presentations that I've been making based off of a couple books from Muroc that are used for the Rankin Technical College AWD or Application in Web Development 1000 Web Development Technologies course. I've gone over all 20 chapters from Muroc's HTML5 and CSS3 4th edition, and now I'm into Muroc's JavaScript and jQuery 3rd edition. And although it won't matter to you, I've gone through section 1. I'm going to skip section 2 just for now and start on section 3. Alright, so I'm going to start with chapter 13, how to work with numbers, strings, and dates. I'm going to just start this as we get into it here by mentioning, and I've said this before, but I'm going to say it one more time anyway, and that is, I gave you that URL for hunlock.com, which is a site here. But notice in this particular series or this chapter, we're going to go over numbers, strings, and arrays and dates. So you want more, great place to go. All right, and I know I put this URL out there before, but I'm putting it out there one more time anyway. I know that this is kind of small. You know, people learn in different ways, and I understand that. With some people, they can just see something, and boom, it pretty much makes sense to them, etc. All right, some people are visual learners, some people are audio learners. You know, some people can just read and pick up stuff, but regardless, this would be a nice thing for you to go and take a look through. All right, okay, enough said on that. Let's jump into this. So, how to work with numbers, strings, and dates. So we're going to talk about the number object, the string object, the date object, a little bit about random numbers, some of the different math methods, some of the different string methods, some of the different date methods, exactly what you think we talk about. All right. Now, in many ways, JavaScript is a very different language in that if I come in and do something like this, I'm not going to write a full program, but I just wanted to show you something. That in many programming languages, if I came in and did something like this, var x equal 10, var y equals 0, var z equals x divided by y, well, when you try to divide any number by 0, the answer really is infinity. All right? And in many programming languages, you'll get something like fatal number, I don't know, out of bounds exception, or something like that. In other words, it won't work. The program will blow up. Rather than you getting an answer, the program will just stop right there because it can't handle that. On the other hand, you get infinity when you do that in JavaScript. Again, in other languages, for instance, Java, if I were to come in Java and you don't use excuse me, you don't use var there, you have to give it the type. So if I came in and did this, int x equals, or let's just say int x, int y, and int z. So let's say that I came in there and I asked you what x was, and you said 23. And I asked you what y was, and you wanted to type in 7, let's say, but instead you just hit the enter key. So you put nothing there. All right? You're again going to get some kind of a arithmetic exception or number out of bounds exception or whatever. But if you do that in JavaScript, you're going to get that. NaN, not a number. All right? So in many ways, JavaScript is more forgiving than other languages. Here's a couple more examples. We talked about toFixed already, and I mentioned to you that, again, as an example, if I was going to do pi, and I know pi to five digits, 3.14159. I don't even know how I know that, but I do. But if I wanted pi and I wanted it to just say to be to 2 digits, I could use 2 fixed, and I'd put where it says digits there, I'd put 2, and then I'd get 3.14. All right, here's a 2 fixed example. We're going to go through examples like this. This is actually a nested function call because it says please enter your age, and regardless of what you put in, it handles it as a string. So here it's trying to parse it or convert it into an integer. But if I put hello there or I left it blank, it would blow up. I shouldn't say it would blow up. It would give me NaN, not a number. One property of the math object is math.py. You can use it in a lot of different places. Here are some other common methods. Again, I'm not going to go through those right now. But as mentioned previously, if we go out here, if we go out here and we go out to, I don't know if numbers is actually going to have math in it, if that's considered, because these are things with numbers. Arithmetic operators, bitwise. There's some stuff on parse int, parse float, NaN. There's the number object. All right, so you can see a lot. Some of the stuff we talked about at the beginning of the class. There's 2 fixed. And there's, other things as well. All right. Again, I'm sorry. I don't mean to get off on too big a tangent here. All right. Here's some examples of using those. Floor and ceiling. Floor when you go to the next number up. Ceiling when you go to the next number down. POW to basically POW here. Math.POW 2, 3 means 2 3 times. So 2 times 2 times 2. All right. 125 1/3, which means the cubed root of 125, which is 5. SQRT for square root. Min and max are kind of neat. Notice the exponentiation operator. So you can now use 2 asterisks, and that's prevalent in other languages as well. The random method where you can create random numbers. Now, just so you know, this may not care, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. The way that random numbers work is you automatically, when you create a random number, you get a number that's greater than or equal to 0, but is less than 1. So it's somewhere between 0.0 and 0.9999999, etc. You can work this around, and here's a great example on the bottom of the screen. I've given students programs before when they have to generate a random number between 1 and 100. And here's a way you can do that. There are different ways of doing it as well. So they've got this application in here that I think they use more than once. It's called PIG, where what happens is you take turns rolling dice. It says your turn ends when you roll a 1 or you choose to hold. So this guy right here has got 36, and you want to get to 100. So let's say that they say, well, I'm going to hold. Then they come around again, and they get a 1. They get a 1, they go right back to 0 again. All right? And they show the HTML for it, the JavaScript for it. All right? And I'm not going to go over it. I mean, it's something you can take a look at. All right? Where you may be right now in your JavaScript career, that may or may not even make a lot of sense to you. All right? So, string objects. As it says, one property of string objects is length. So if I do this and I ask for the length, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 letters in the word JavaScript. Char at allows you to grab what's at a certain position. So if I said hello and I did char at 0, I would get the H. Concat is like using plus. It allows you to combine together 2 or more strings. Index of, substring, 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 these 4 all basically allow you to go and search a big string for a smaller string, a substring, a string within a string, for example. All right? 2 lowercase and 2 uppercase hopefully those just, they just make sense. All right. Here's some examples. Again, the way that you're going to learn how to use this, and this is nothing profound on my part, all right, but the way you're going to learn to use this is to use this. So you're going to have to be going through examples both in class, on assignments that you're given, etc. The trim function, which allows you to remove beginning and ending spaces. If I came through there and did something like this, don't ask me why I do this, but if I did. So if I came through there and said, name equals blank, 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 the letter O, hyphen, Hera, blank, blank, blank. All right, so if I did something like that, and then I said name equal, I think it's trim name, maybe giving you the wrong syntax here, I'm not trying to. What that's going to do is that's going to get rid of these blanks at the beginning and these blanks at the end. Now, had it been O hyphen space Hera, it would not get rid of that one. So it only gets rid of what are called leading or beginning blanks and trailing or ending blanks. There is a trim, there is an L trim, there is an R trim. L trim just gets rid of beginning blanks, R trim just ending blanks, etc. All right. When you compare things, you can tell it to ignore the case. All right. Now, in this case, we're not doing that. We're making copies of each one and making them lowercase. Always important when you're doing things like this, you want to compare apples with apples, not apples with oranges. All right. Notice there's an equal ignore case. So there's more than one way of doing the same thing. All right, let's talk a little bit about dates. When you say var now equal new date, you get a new date object. And it's got the day, or the month, the day, the year, and it's got the time, an hour, minute, second, and I think it goes all the way to hundredths of a second. So you can set dates. All right, so you can go in there, you can set things. Notice you're setting it one way, you're setting it another way. There are so many different things that you can do with dates. And again, I'd push you back to Hunlock. And if you don't want Hunlock, go to W3 Schools and take a look at their JavaScript tutorial and look at dates. It says here some unexpected results when specifying a date. All right. And may or may not happen. It says here this is an invalid date. I don't think it realizes the dash. And here, I don't know if it would still say 20 or 1916. I think it would be smart enough to know that it would be, in fact, that's an error. That should be 1918. All right. The best thing you can do to be sure is to specify everything. Like you could have said here 11/08/2018 to be sure you get what you want. All right. So they give you some rules here. If you call the date constructor with no parameters, it gives you a new date object set to the current date and time. If you call it with a string as a parameter, the constructor parses the string as a date or a date and a time. If you call the date constructor with two or more numbers as parameters, they're passed in the order shown. That order. If you call the date constructor with another date object, it creates a new date object that's a copy of the original one. If you call it with parameters that aren't valid, it creates a new date object that contains invalid date. So in many ways, invalid date is kind of like the NaN or the not a number. All right, there's different ways that you can format dates. You can grab just, pluck out just a piece of the date if you want to do that. Get methods, again, are accessors They give you information. It's like you ask a question, they give you the answer. Set methods are mutators, so they allow you to change something. To set a year, a month, a date, hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. Once you've gone in and set date objects, you can format them to look any way you want them to look. Kind of a neat program here. All right. As it says, it shows you how many days exist until New Year's Day. All right, how to calculate due dates, end of month dates. This is a countdown thing. Again, that's going to be, I think it's 4/15/2019. All right, they give you the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript for this. All right, they keep enhancing things in here, which is one of the things I like about the book. So we'll go over many, many, many of these examples that are here. All right, that's it for Chapter 13. So we are done with working with numbers, strings, and dates. Done with the PowerPoints. Again, we'll spend a lot of time on it later on. And next, we're going to go into how to work with control structures, exceptions, and regular expressions. So I'll be back with that lecture shortly.